Okay, let's proceed with the following elements. All right, so in the last lecture, I asked you to think about it. All right, think about it, and we'll discuss in the next Zoom session. Now let's proceed. Let's move on to the differences between apes and children's language behavior. This is obvious, but well, for scientific reason, we need to clarify what are differences between apes and children's language behavior. All right, so for apes, not just apes, animals in general, when they learn to say something, they are just what you call the word is regurgitating, right? regurgitating, regurgitate, right? Meaning they're just simply parroting, okay, parroting what human said. So for apes, when you talk about when they said something, their utterances are mainly in the here and now, just at the present moment. But for children, their utterances involve temporal displacement, meaning they can talk about something in the past, something in future, something in present as well, right? So very, very sophisticated for children. Yeah. My daughter, I think maybe because of my influence, yeah, so when we watch something on TV, especially the birth scene, how women give birth. So she freaks out and she would say, "Mummy, will I have to go through that in future?" So that is temporal displacement. So she has been thinking about something that might or might not happen in 20 years time. So she's 9, so yeah, 20 years time. So I told her, yeah, yes, if you get married, if not, you can just stay with me. Yeah, so you can see how intelligent that utterance is, to think about something ahead in time. Right? Okay, that means it involves temporal displacement, right? And then for apes, of course, lack syntactic structure. So they don't have syntactic structure. What syntactic structure? When they say, let's say, I want a banana, they will say banana, banana. All right, so that's just a noun. So for children, they might have that phase where they say one word, but only for a few months, or maybe just up till 2-3 years old, when they start developing a clear syntactic structure and certain consistency in their utterances. So they would say, I want banana. Or for Malay children, they would use their first name. Like my daughter, her name is Asha, so she said, Asha wants banana, Asha nak pisang. So there's a complete syntactic structure. All right. Little comprehension of syntactic relationship between units, so that's apes. So similar to syntactic structure, ability for children, they have the ability to pick up syntactic relationship between units, meaning when they produce something, they know they need to use Asha wants banana. All right, so that's related to what we discussed before in terms of syntactic structure. And then when we want to, for children, they do not need explicit training to use symbols. Okay, symbols, or you can extend this to devices. For example, I think children, you just teach them one time how to use iPad and they'll become very sophisticated in that. All right, so they do not need explicit training to use anything, not just symbols, to use anything. All right, for apes and animals in general, they need explicit training to use symbols for utterances or anything. Right, for the parrot, we discussed before, the parrot, after 13 years, 3 years, human beings at age 13 years, they are teenagers already, they are sophisticated young adults. Yeah. All right, so children, they can reject ill-formed sentences, and apes here cannot reject ill-formed sentences. All right, so when Harley, this is from your textbook, when Harley said children, they can reject ill-formed sentences, it's as if children are how do I say this, genius in grammatical construction. Okay, grammar genius. No, children, when they reject it, is not from the prescriptive grammatical perspective. What I mean is, children, when they learn something, they develop their own system, and that system is not necessarily the same with adults or what the society expects it to be. I'll give you one very specific example. When my daughter was really young, when it comes to plural in Malay, she was a bit confused. All right. So in Malay, I mentioned before, in Malay, how do we use plural? We reduplicate. We use another noun. So let's say book, book, or buku, buku. Yeah. So my husband tried to teach my daughter that, and of course, how can you teach grammar to little children? You can't, right? Because they have their own system and you cannot. And one thing about children, they are egocentric meaning they don't understand from your perspective. They are selfish creatures. Yes, we are all, when we were young, we are selfish creatures. We only see things from our own perspective, right? So in the case of my daughter, she does not understand why plural in Malay should be twice. It should be, let's say, kucing, kucing, cat, cat, right? Because she develops another system altogether to pluralize nouns in Malay. What is this system? Let's say if I showed her, this is when she was 3-4 years, yeah. If I showed her a picture of 10 cats, yeah, she would say cat, kucing 10 times. Kucing, 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 kucing. So if there are 20 cats, she would say it 20 times. All right. Why? Because in her mind at that time, why must we use twice? Why twice? Why not 10 times? Why not infinity? Yeah. So when children reject certain sentences, that's not because they are grammar genius, but they reject it according to the system that they have developed. Okay, so that one you have to bear in mind, because Harley, I don't think she's a children's language expert, so he just put it in a very simplistic manner, as if children is rejecting because they know grammar. No, they do not know grammar. They develop their own system. And how do you teach grammar to young children? You can't. All right, because they have to. Grammar is something that is very arbitrary. ARBITRARY, something that, if you think about it, doesn't make sense. Is a rule. All right. And children, as you know, they don't learn rules well. All right. Okay. Then next, apes really ask questions, which is funny. Yeah. The word that they use here, Harley use here, rarely. If you put rarely, it's as if they ever ask question. I wouldn't say rarely, never ask questions. Yeah. Because asking question is asking question in its nature shows intelligence, and we have to say this: apes are not intelligent. Right? They are not intelligent unless you see all these movies, or what's that? The not Animal Planet. I forgot about it. Yeah, it's okay. Those intelligent apes, yeah, by the actors. Sorry, I forgot the title of the movie. All right, but in real life, no, they never ask questions. Children, yes, frequently ask questions because, as I said, we are intelligent, not intelligent animals, right? No spontaneous referential use of symbols. This is the same with training to use symbols. Children, they can, when you are younger, you play pretend. Play pretend meaning, let's say you have one items and you just say to your friends when you were children, okay, pretend this is what? This is pretend this is a chair. Right? To play pretend is spontaneous referential use of symbols. Or when I was younger, when I was a child, I hate that game, but my cousins like to play main kawin kawin. How do you translate that? To act like you're groom or bride. Okay, so that is pretend play, right? And children, they have meaning. From the cognitive perspective, they are highly intelligent. They can play pretend. Play pretend requires you to have another level of intelligence. All right. Okay. So those are differences between apes and children's language behavior. So we'll proceed with, from the discussion, what can we deduce? Meaning, what can we conclude from animal and language? Alright, let me just put it here. You can read this later. These are all from your textbook. Alright, so animals can learn the name of objects and simple syntactic rules. I've mentioned this in passing, but I would have to say this again. Animals, they learn nouns, right? They have difficulties acquiring verbs. Verbs are difficult because when you say about verb, let's say the verb play, the word play itself, it has another it requires you to have agent. Who's the player? Who is being played? Right? It has in its agent and the team. right? So that's from the semantic nature. That's why verbs is difficult to acquire, because let's say play, you need to say I play a ball. I is the agent, the ball is the team. All right, so that's why verb is very hard or impossible for animals to acquire. They would acquire some words, but mainly nouns, yeah, names of objects. So animals, they do not develop sophisticated representations of meaning. Yes, they cannot. They don't have meaning, and they cannot learn complex, more human-like grammars. No. So this has led researchers to believe that that language processes are to some degree independent of other cognitive processes. So according to Chomsky, we have in our brain, we have this one devoted domain for us to acquire language that is separate, right, which makes us distinctive from animals. Yeah. So number two, it is worth noting that although the cognitive abilities of young children and chimpanzees are not very different, their linguistic abilities are. Alright, so according to Trevor Halley, so when he looks at, I don't know when he or other researchers look at the brain of animals, literally the brains, alright, so they're saying that it's similar, apes and children's cognitions, and also the brain itself is similar, but they view that the linguistic ability is not. This is the difference. Yeah. Alright, so Chomsky claimed that human language is a special faculty which is independent of other cognitive process, has a specific biological basis, and has evolved only in humans. That one, yes, I believe. Okay, I do not necessarily believe all what Chomsky said, but I think yes, this is, it has a certain, he has a very strong ground here, that we as human beings, we have that faculty that help us to acquire language, and which makes us very different from apes and animals in general. So in particular, Chomsky argued that only humans possess language acquisition device that enables us to acquire language. Yeah. Okay, that one is important. That's why I have to show this to you. All right. What else? Okay, so this is just a repetition. There is a major discontinuity between linguistic and cognitive abilities of children and chimpanzees, with children possessing innate. So we talked about innate before, the innateness. So language is something that is hardwired, an ability that is hardwired in human beings that other animals do not have. Yeah. All right. So I'll post this video on to conclude the chapter. I'll post this video, so listen to the lecture, compile your questions, and I'll post this video. This is a separate video from TED Talk in Google Classroom. Alright, so I'll see you on Wednesday. Compile your all your questions from historical context as well as animal communication. Alright, I'll see you soon.